5 balls to watch for Kent State. Now, you have a challenge because you could just say all the good players, Nico, James Pierce, blah, blah, blah. But I'm curious what direction you'll go, at least the audience should be, because I would think you would go along the lines of guys that could play in mop-up time, just at least a little bit. Which direction did you go, sir?
I went with the direction of Tennessee's matchup advantages, which players should play the best. I'm sorry. And the unfair part is, guys, every advantage is every matchup is a matchup advantage for Tennessee. But I would a little Nick Saban, we got to give our opponents the proper respect. What was it Nick Saban would always say? When he said that one time, when he's like, they run through our A like S through a tin horn or whatever.
I haven't heard that one. But let's get it started with number 5. We'll count them down, and I'll give you my thoughts on each of these players.
All right, number 5 is Keenan Peele. Now, Kent State has given up. They've given up 6 sacks on the year, and I think they've already given up in just 2 games, Dave. I think they've given up 19 tackles for a loss. But the vast majority of these come to linebackers. Their rush offense and the way that they run their offense, it basically screams for linebackers to make big plays in the backfield. So this could be a game where Keenan Peele starts to raise some eyebrows, even though nobody should raise eyebrows in this game because it's Kent State.
Keenan Peele is the 3rd most important player on Tennessee's team. Tell me I'm wrong.
There's Nico. There's Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hit like and subscribe.
And then
I can't disagree.
Yeah, he's the 3rd most important player on Tennessee's football team. Number 4, counting down the players to watch against Kent State.
Dylan Sampson. Kent State gave up 145 yards on just 14 carries to Desmond Reed when they faced Pitt in the first game. We know what Dylan Sampson's been doing.
He's barely going to play. Be surprised if he. I will give you this right now. Over under 49.5 yards. Would you want the over or the under for Dylan Sampson?
I'm taking the over because I think Dylan Sampson is going to get 49.5 yards on 2 carries.
Well, he could, but I will tell you this. I didn't buy it when you said that Tennessee was going to throw the SEC basketball tournament. Okay? I thought that you still have to go old school, play your hardest, do that sort of thing. But I wonder now if Dante Thornton is one of their receivers they'll lean the most on, or they just wanted to give him some play against Chattanooga. I wonder if they'll all but sit some of these guys as early as the second quarter. That's how bad I think Kent State is. So I'm going to put it at 74.5. Would you take the over or under yards from scrimmage?
I'd still take the over. I don't think he needs 10 carries to get to 100.
Well, no, he doesn't need 6 carries, but I don't think he's even going to get that. So I'm going to go.
That's crazy.
All right. I just, we'll see, but I don't think that he's going to play much against Kent State at all. All right. Who's next?
All right, back to the linebackers, because given how many linebackers make big plays, I think Arian Carter's number 3. I think this could be a mini breakout game for Arian Carter, who could rack up some stats too. It'll be hard because you're right. Arian Carter is another player that they may be worried about injury, and he plays a position where he could get hurt, so they may pull him too pretty quickly.
No, I love this one. I think he's so fast and so smart that he'll make 2 or 3 plays before he gets pulled. I think that. Yeah, I mean, I think he's that good. You still want everybody to be fresh, so you're going to run your starters out there, don't get me wrong, and you want them to be in a rhythm. But, no, I think Arian Carter is the type of athlete that Tennessee has that Kent State, there's what, a dozen, 2 dozen, maybe 18, somewhere, athletes that they've never seen anything like, and he's going to be one of those guys. So I think he'll make a couple of plays, and I also think he's due. I think that Pierce will make a play as well, which I know I don't know, we're going to get to, I think, because I think Tim Banks wants to pay these guys off some for dropping into coverage, disguising things, and I think he's going to send them. I thought he did so against North Carolina State, too, with Pierce. All right, who's next?
All right. Oh, so you're saying he may want to give them a chance to get a few fun tackles in the backfield because he feels like they deserve it.
Give him some love. Give him some love. Send them. Nobody likes to drop back in pass coverage.
Well, speaking of this, and we just talked about the Heisman race, and Josh Heupel wants that, and he wants it for his quarterback. So I got Nico Iamaleava at number 2. Josh Heupel wants Nico. Nico's playing through the whole first half at the very least.
Hey now, I won't argue with that because protection will be good. I'll say 20 of 24 for 325 yards. Can you mark that down?
All right, 20 of 24 for 325 yards.
I think I've been on a hot streak. You know that, right?
No, you have. That is true.
And I hope he watches the show and he's listening. I had someone who has like 1 million followers on YouTube that's like a nuclear physicist that just happens to be a Tennessee fan. And he messaged me and he said, I just want to let you know I've followed everybody and you've been by far the closest. And so I'm like, hey, thanks. I'm usually horrible at that. All right, who's next?
Well, what are the chances before I get to number 1? Well, no, I'll get to number 1 and then I'll ask you this because we'll keep it on this topic. But number 1 is I think Josh Heupel. This game is about giving love stats wise to players who haven't had it yet but who deserve it. So Brew McCoy, this is his game. It was Dante Thornton in the opener. It was Squirrel White last time. And by the way, Kent State has given up over 100 yards to each of the each team's go-to wideout in the last 2 games, and that includes an FCS foe. So I think that this is the game for Nico to hit Brew McCoy for a few big plays.
Hey now. I like that one. See, I think Brew McCoy is a great selection, but none of these guys are going to play in the third quarter.
No, absolutely not. So what I was going to ask was, so Kent State, funny enough, I'll talk about this tomorrow, but they have they pass the ball a lot more than a lot of other schools. But what are the chances that them and head coach Kenny Burns decide we just don't want to get blown out of the building, so we're going to run the clock as much as possible?
Pretty good.
Now, what are the chances, honestly?
Yeah, I guess. I guess there's a chance of that. But the thing about Brew McCoy that I love is he's a great downfield blocker. I was watching highlights of Dylan Gabriel, and there was no downfield blocking. There were a couple of short little plays that with Oregon speed, with half a block, they could have broke. The thing I love about Brew McCoy is he's an A+, even if he doesn't catch the ball, even if he's not targeted, even, because of what he does when the ball's not in his hands. I would be interested, and I'll ask around who's graded out the highest combined, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Brew McCoy.
I think you're probably right. I
thought he ran one route kind of out of bounds. Do you remember that if he just stayed in bounds, he was trying to work the edge of the field and he stepped out of bounds? I mean, that would be I think an on him.
But he also he ran a beautiful deep route on the opening drive of last week's game that should have been a touchdown. Nico overshot him. And so, I mean, he is a heck of a route runner.